Chuck. Tingle. Chuck. Tingle. Chuck. Tingle. Chuck. Tingle.
Hello, I'm Fiona Bruce and welcome
To the Chuck Tingle Book Club.
Oh, yeah. Hello and how do true buckaroos, and welcome to the Chuck Tingle Book Club, brought to you by the fine reprobates at Pot Topic Podcast. On this show, we explore the immortal science of love through the lens of Chuck Tingle. As ever, I am the resident Chuckademic Taz, and a little later on, I'll be doing a deep-ish dive on the topic of today's show. Here to tell us all about it is this guy.
Yep, I'm Tom. I hate to break it to you, Taryn, I didn't actually read the book this week.
What?
April Fools.
Oh, Tom, you did me a mighty funny on that one. Oh, my little heart spot went for a second. I thought it was all for nothing. Ooh, what a merry jape that was.
Goddy. Yeah. So I'm just going to do a quick synopsis, a Tomnopsis, if you will, madam.
And I certainly will. Thank you very much for asking.
About our book this week, which was A Butt in the Mist, stirred to the core of my bodice by the Duchess Triceratops of Helena. That's right. We got a lady tingle this week. Right. So let's just get cracking.
Mm-hmm.
She always knew the journey to the new world would be difficult, but it seems like the only choice for Ms. Alison Davenport. All hospitality jobs in her homeland of England had evaporated after that she graduated, so her only choice was to seek employment with the New World Programme. This programme's goal? To make sure that grace, elegance of England was maintained in the colonies, aka that they're Americas.
Yeah.
And where in the Americas is she heading? Only to the goddamn Billings Manor, motherfucker. Yeah, we do like when Billings comes in. So it's a castle, like what they have back in Old Blighty. When she arrives...
Just like one of them. Exactly. All manicured law and stuff.
In it, fam. When she arrives, she's rudely greeted by Mrs. Glibber, who I think I write from now on as Gibber, so I'll have to try and remember to say Glibber. The head
have fun editing on the fly, dude. it's fun.
Yeah. So greeted rudely by her. She's the house. She's the head of the house, and she makes it perfectly clear to Alison that Alison's here to work and not speak. Alison is informed that the Duchess Triceratops of Helena is coming to visit in 2 days, and it's upon their shoulders that make a good impression. Over the next few days, Alison learns not to fuck about under Mrs. Glibber's rule. Did it once. Good on me. The consequence of doing so is to be tossed out into the cold, which, as the manor's in the middle of nowhere, ain't great.
Bad scene.
It is a bad scene. It's a bad position to find.
Being left out to fend for yourself in the wilds of Montana in the 1800s. I wouldn't fancy it.
It's a bad position to find yourself in, but I'm sure she'll find herself in a good position soon. Literally moments before the Duchess is due to arrive, Mrs. Glibber, all flustered and desperate, looking burst into the kitchen. All the manor staff have been relegated here during the visit. She approaches Alison and tells her that she must join the Duchess and her for dinner. Just to fill space, make the manor seem livelier, but threatens Alison's that if she says even a single word, she'll eat her for breakfast. And that's not a euphemism. Not a euphemism. Glibber's not hot. Mrs. Glibber takes Alison to the dining table, sits her down and speeds off to meet the Duchess out the front. The table has several servants, all dolled up to look the part. Skip to, the Duchess enters the room. Fit as fuck, curvy in all the right places. Mm-hmm. This is one gorgeous prehistoric creature who seemed bored with Mrs. Glibber already. They sit at the table. Alison is strangely drawn to the Duchess, obviously, and this is heightened only by the taboo and forbidden nature of it all. This being back in the day before dinosaurs and humans had much giggity. I couldn't think of a good word for that.
That was a bit of a leap. I don't remember that being brought up in the text, Tom.
Oh, it was.
That
yeah, no, it was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
There's a little bit of. She actually still talks about the taboo nature of it all.
Okay.
I don't know whether
Fair enough.
It was sort of half sexuality and half interspecies stuff, I think. But I don't know. Maybe I got that impression wrong. But the Duchess is determined to get out of conversation with Mrs. Glibber. Tries to talk to Alison. Frozen with fear, Alison kept stumm. As Mrs. Glibber explains to the Duchess that no one at the table can speak due to a terrible accident during the castle's construction. What a fucking obvious lie that is. Only made more
this scene, man.
only made more transparent when the chef bursts in through the doors apologizing for the wait.
I love this scene. Just the ridiculous about it, and I focus elsewhere for my essay, but I want to talk about how ludicrous this scene is.
It's a farcical scene. Yeah,
we've got Mrs. Glibber, and she doesn't have any friends, so because she's been too busy just ruling with an iron fist at the manor, so she dresses up her servants to look like royalty, and then they just sit obediently like royalty sit obediently at a table saying nothing. When the Duchess brings this up, Mrs. Glibber actually remarks that, while I was away, there was a terrible accident that rendered all of the staff mute. It's like, at that point, didn't even need the chef to blow up her spot. She's so feckless. She did it herself.
Yeah, totally.
Because all the while, I'm just imagining these poor painted servants just sitting around going,
yeah, just eyeballing each other. Yeah. It's just like all the things she could have said, like they were having a vow of celibacy. This is celibacy, silence. So they can't do it for puritanical reasons or something like that. But no, they were having a terrible
accident. Would at least bringing in the Puritan angle would at least fit with America for sure.
This kind of period. I mean, yeah, whatever. Anyway, where were we up to? Fed up with the tyrannical Mrs. Glibber. I didn't do it that time, Mrs. Glibber. And no longer scared of losing this shitty job, Alison breaks her silence. The Duchess introduces herself to Alison as Sarah. When Mrs. Glibber asks if she may call the Duchess Sarah, she's immediately shot down. Sarah reaches over, placing her hand on Alison's, and invites her for an evening stroll through the gardens and to meet her outside in 15. When she gets out there, it's a moonlit, foggy evening as Alison struggles to find the Duchess. But when she does...
Some might call it a misty evening, Tom.
I mean... you say potato, I say lesbian interaction in the gardens.
Fair enough.
So yeah, struggles to find the Duchess, but when she does, oh boy, does she find her. The dino's stark bollock naked, swaying her hips side to side. And with a flash of a perfect curvy green butt, Sarah takes off into the titular mist. Alison takes off after her, and when she finds her, she finds herself in the pleasure zone, baby.
Take you to the pleasure zone, baby.
Embrace and beak kissing, explosive fit of passion, exploratory hands and clothes tossing. Tyrannosaurus top begs for a clip rub. Human drops to the knees, dives into the prehistoric pussy. Dino about to come, boom, slips in a couple digits. Sarah splooshes everywhere. Both on the floor now, Alison is free of manners and etiquette and breaking all the rules. Duchess goes down, furious, nodding and squirming, confirming she needs a finger, screaming orgasm. That's literally it. Like, this is the shortest sex scene ever.
Yeah. There's an awful lot of layup on this one.
Yeah, which I kind of appreciate. But anyway, getting back to the synopsis, the last couple of lines. Scared of returning inside the manor, Alison is comforted by Sarah. Sarah makes it clear that she's in charge now and has no intention of going anywhere, leaving Mrs. Glibber back in charge, and that bitch can go fuck herself.
Well done. You mostly did
Fucked up once.
the
I'm so
self
annoyed.
editing on the way. Just the once. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. Do you know what that scene? Just when I read it, where Alison sees the Duchess in the garden and she's just swaying her hips from side to side. Just in my head, I had like a Baroque quartet playing Cherry Pie in my head.
Fantastic. If you're at home and you're listening to this and you have nothing to do this afternoon, why don't you throw yourself into Fruity Loops and try and make that work?
Yeah. Oh, I would love that. Yeah. Anyone out there with a copy of Ableton Live, just get on there, man. Start producing.
Right.
Cool. Are we ready for it, Tom?
We are. And where the fuck are you going to go with this? Because I thought you were going to go for the taboo nature of everything, but
whoa, not entirely wrong, but we'll find out, shall we? As we dive into my essay, A Butt in the Mist, stirred to the core of my bodice by the Duchess Triceratops of Helena, an elixis.
An elixis?
An elixis.
Oh, I get it, like licking sis. Okay, yeah, got you.
Yeah.
Explain it to the folks at home.
History is a tricky sort of thing. The events of history tend to be messy and dazzlingly complex, with all sorts of factors feeding into their happening. Things rarely just happen because one other thing happens. Rather, to understand any single event with any real accuracy, a historian may have to take a laundry list of contextualizations into account. Politics, religion, culture, demographics, geography, economy, ecology, even meteorology can all have a significant role to play in why anything happens. Most significantly of all is the history that precedes the history you're looking at, which in turn needs to be contextualized through any number of lenses, including its own preceding history, which, you get it, messy and complex. But that's all without even taking into account the reliability and biases of your historical sources, most of which come from the learned, the rich, the powerful. Not, in short, the sort of people who necessarily have a broad and deep understanding of their own times, but at least have the self-assuredness to think that they do and the means to record it in some fashion. If that strikes you as a further complicating factor in the pursuit of historical truth, well, yeah, it is. Fortunately, there's one absolute truth that runs throughout all history. It's a truth so painfully self-evident that it requires neither historian nor historical analysis. You need only look at yourself, your family, your friends, strangers in the streets, and from there make a single step of irreducible logic. All throughout history, people fucked.
Damn, Skippy.
Fortunately, there's one. Fortunately, I need to skip on to the next bit. Fast forward to now, and this one unavoidable fact of human history is something that seems to get us horny as hell. Dead rich people boning, or to use its common nomenclature, historical romances, are something that remain popular today. James Cameron's Titanic. Yeah, no, so do I. James Cameron's Titanic is still the highest grossing piece of historical fiction cinema. Netflix's recent adaptation of the first book of Julia Quinn's Bridgerton series went #1 in several regions, making it a smash hit. But long before all of this came the subgenre's popularity in literature. You see, in the realms of paperbacks and bent spines, the raunchier end of historical romance garnered itself both a reputation and a name. It's an eldritch force so powerful that it single-handedly birthed the career of noted high-altitude goose fancier Fabio Lanzoni. Damn it, I couldn't hold it together for that one.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
We are, of course, talking about the Bodice Ripper. Now, there are all sorts of questions that could be asked about the popularity of historical romance and bodice rippers. Books about boning, people boning, I get. But why do they have to be dead? Why do they also have to be rich? And it's always lords, daughters, and dashing dukes. Why do we never get the fragrant flagrancies of Sally the fishwife? This gets even more perplexing when you take into consideration that the general population are slowly becoming aware of the sort of gross injustices that lie at the very rotten cause of such social stratifications. So why is it all so popular? Well, it might be a bit of an ask to find some explanation of this in a 4,000-word Triceratops erotica, but that doesn't mean the good doctor won't be able to offer some sort of insight into what makes this genre so appealing. To find out what that is, though, well, we're just going to have to do the science.
He done doth the prop.
Cool. So, what are you thinking so far, Tom?
Jane Austen has a lot to answer for, that's what. You're right. Why is it always the high society?
Well, we'll do some digging, shall we? Part 1. Status and status. But in the mist, stirred to the core of my bodice by the Duchess Triceratops of Helena follows. It's so difficult to read a Chuck Tingle title when I can see you laughing out the corner of my eye. It's fine. This is an exercise in joy and love, after all.
I can't wait for Pride and Prejudice as well.
Oh, that would have been good. A butt in the mist, stirred to the core of my bodice by the Duchess Triceratops of Helena, follows our Chucktagonist Miss Alison Davenport, who has been trained to value poise, tradition, and distinction. Due to a lack of available work at home in Britain, she ships off to America, where she will work for the cruel Mrs. Glibber of Billings Manor. The manor is expecting a visit from the Duchess Triceratops of Helena, who latterly takes a shine to Alison, and the two of them go on to draw deeply of each other's cups. That is the very skeleton of the story anyway. It's only when you have a look at the meat of the thing that the actual power of the story presents itself. And this is something we can do in 3 simple steps. First up, how it started. Who would have thought I'd end up here, so far away from home, trapped in a land that seemed the absolute opposite of everything I trained for? I dedicated years of my life to hospitality, hoping to find myself behind the scenes of any one of the most luxurious hotels across England. So, second up, here's how that went. I begin to settle into the routine of the manor, and quickly discover the nuances of Mrs. Glibber's brutal rule. Everyone who works here lives in fear of the angry woman, terrified we'll do something to displease her and cause her to immediately toss us out in the cold. And for the third, here's how that's going. I've spent my life learning how to fit into a complicated system of manners and customs, never really considering what it might be like to break out of them. In this moment with Sarah, I finally feel free to be myself, to act in the ways my body desires at its very core. Oh, yeah, Bucks. It's time to critique power and the hierarchies that uphold it. The thing I really like about this Tingler is that it isn't happy just to look at power in isolation and as it relates to Alison specifically. No, we get little slices of the effects of power and hierarchy and of how they work on both macro and micro scales and on varying levels of that hierarchy. Heck, it starts early. We find it reflected and embodied in the very makeup of the Alison character. Let's talk manners and etiquette, shall we? When we talk about manners, we're talking about a set of informal heuristics that help mediate social interactions in such a way that everyone can go about their days without fucking each other off. In short, displaying a society's good manners is a simple way of displaying basic human respect to anyone within that society. Manners between two people are also something that can be modulated as they get to know each other. Etiquette, conversely, can look a lot like manners and is often confused with manners by the sort of people who put too much stock in etiquette. But etiquette has nothing to do with basic human respect. Rather than a set of informal interpersonal heuristics, etiquette is a highly formalized litany of social strictures designed to instill obeisance to those further up the social hierarchy than you. It's a system more about respecting a position rather than the person who occupies it. It is a system about enforcing and maintaining power. So when Alison talks about being trained to value poise, tradition, and distinction, and of wanting to work at any one of the most luxurious hotels across England, or even at a manor, abbey, or castle, we can, with some degree of safety, say that she has been trained in the sort of etiquette expected of the class of people who inhabit such places. She has been trained into a system of enforcing and maintaining social hierarchical power, and as such becomes a tool of that system's enforcement and maintenance. Impressively, Alison seems somewhat aware of her role as a tool of power, even though she prefers to focus on the aspects that involve absolute grace and dignity, serving tea and playing croquet. When she's explaining why she's in America, Alison mentions the New World program, which has been designed to make sure colonization remained focused on the long-standing traditions of the glorious land being left behind. In short, girl, go keep our social rules instilled abroad, because if their social hierarchy is the same as our social hierarchy, then the people at the top of our social hierarchy are de facto at the top of theirs also. The power is enforced and maintained. You got a hand up there, Tom?
Yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt you because you were in full flow. But it's also oppressing women, which I find interesting in a lesbian book.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry, my son. We'll get into the feminist angle in just a second, bruv.
Never had any doubt, fam.
Right, so yes, manners hierarchy, the power is enforced and maintained. So already we can see how something as simple but insidious as etiquette can be used to control on the micro and macro scales. It can control the actions of an individual and maintain power across a whole country at a distance. And Alison, to begin with, seems happy enough with this. But all shall not stay rosy, because power unchecked leaves the powerless wrecked. Ooh, I quite like that.
I like it, yeah. No, it almost felt like you're sticking your tongue out then.
Enter Mrs. Glibber. As we learned earlier, she's a bit of a terror. And as the head of Billings Manor, she has the power over all those in her employ. She can, if she pleases, fire people at will. But it's not only the employment card she has to play against her staff, but that of their very lives. Because when you consider the fact that there's nowhere to go for hundreds of miles, getting fired actually becomes a little dangerous. Mrs. Glibber holds all the power over her little fiefdom, which she utilizes to make her staff miserable. But there are still powers greater than her. One such power is about to visit the Duchess Triceratops of Helena. It's here we get to see play out some of the tragedy inherent to such rigid power dynamics. Mrs. Glibber's focus in this Tingler is making sure the visit with the Duchess Triceratops of Helena goes smoothly. It's not explicitly stated why this is so important to her, just that it is. This leads us to our first tragedy of power. Because Mrs. Glibber runs the place with an iron fist, she doesn't have many friends around to fill the space of the manor, leaving it cold and empty. Power isolates. Usually, when we talk about this, it's in reference to the powerful attracting people more interested in that power than the person who wields it. In this case, Mrs. Glibber is so focused on using her power over a manor in order to impress the person who has power over her, the Duchess, that she hasn't had the time to pursue anything worthwhile, such as friends. In fact, all Mrs. Glibber has is the power of her position, which she may be able to impress upon her staff, but that alone certainly won't impress someone with a position more powerful than hers. This ends up leading to both a bad visit and a thoroughly ridiculous situation. Alison is asked to join the dinner table for the visits, but given a strict instruction. I don't want you to say a word while the Duchess and I talk. You'll be there to fill the space and make the manor look lively and fun.
Perfect characterization on the voice, by the way.
Yeah. It's not just Alison who has to suffer this lunacy in service of Glibber's myopic understanding of power and high society. When she reaches her place at the table, Alison notes that the rest of the seats are taken by various servants done up to look like royalty. This situation goes about as well as you would expect. Position-centric Glibber doesn't have the social chops to entertain her high society guest, and so the Duchess tries talking with the others at the table, who remain silent. Alison is in agony at this point. Being trained to entertain and serve such people, she knows she could save this party. I'm forced to hold back, however, biting my tongue and following strict orders. Glibber's use of her position, even when she's dying on her ass, simply can't allow for help from anyone below her position. Instead, she makes up a lie about why everyone other than her has been rendered mute, a lie that's immediately exposed when the chef enters and announces dinner. It's at this point that Alison's respect for protocol shatters. I'm sick of following these inane rules for no other reason than to please Mrs. Glibber. Alison speaks up for herself, and as a result, things immediately start going better for her. The Duchess takes to her and insists Alison call her Sarah, a point of familiarity she does not extend to Glibber. Sarah asks Alison to meet her out in the garden in 15 minutes, but aware of the trouble Alison might receive from her employer, Sarah takes the opportunity to wield some power of her own. And if anything happens to her, the Triceratops continues, I will know who to come looking for. Is that understood, Mrs. Glibber? Of course, we know what happens from there. Alison and Sarah meet in the misty garden and get into it, in which time Alison has her revelation. I feel like I'm one with the wilds now, free from any ridiculous rules that ever bound me. So, there we have it. We start at the social hierarchy and the etiquette that enforces and maintains its power. It binds Alison to its strictures and sends her abroad to do its work in the colonies. In doing so, Alison comes to suffer at the hands of Mrs. Glibber, who only understands the wielding of her hierarchical power. Glibber, in turn, suffers power's isolating effects, which leads to humiliation through a lack of social grace and through the Duchess's power superseding her own. At the very end, Alison and Sarah come together and have the only fun anyone has in the entire Tingler. So, in this context, it would seem that the only people who can truly be free and find joy are those at the top of a social hierarchy, or those brave enough to step outside of it.
Exactly. Is that the end? Or
So,
you still got your conclusion?
Oh, no, I've still got a part 2 and a conclusion, mate.
I was a bit scared there. I'll knock that off for a sec. Yeah, the idea of she's come to the new world, it's new hope, new visions, new taboos, new morals to be learned. It's like a complete refresh of her psyche, which I love, and her morals and everything she's learned.
I think it's more the fact that she's done all this learning. She is, skilled in hospitality, and when she arrives at a job where she's supposed to be doing these things, she's just made a skivvy. It's like, nope, you just do what I say.
Mm-hmm.
Which is obviously always part of being in hospitality, but just without everything else that she would hope to do with her vocation, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Any thoughts on where I'm going next?
If unless you're talking about the lack of Triceratops horn up the I'm going to be disappointed. So.
Well, Tom, it is not my place. It's not our place to criticize how Tingle seeks to express love in his works. It's only for us to analyze and to read and analyze and understand.
We'll see what the robot has to say about that, shall we?
Well, he's a rather crass sort, isn't he?
He is. Right. Anyway,
on we go with part 2. The power of love. All right, so we've covered how power in a formal and centralized form can make things pretty shitty for all those beholden to it. But power isn't all bad. Exercising full bodily autonomy, that is, unrestricted power over your own body, is a good thing. It just is. Should be beyond question, even. And, there's forms of collective power that are pretty righteous and saucy. That kind of thing has won us masses things like political enfranchisement, labor laws, and civil liberties and stuff. Or I should say, are winning us political enfranchisements, labor laws, and civil liberties. Those fights, in a lot of cases, are still being fought, which is weird because, according to my local council waste and recycling collection calendar,
where's it going, ladies and gents?
Yeah, it is 2021, and those fights are still necessary, which is hot. But if we want to talk about power in the context of a butt in the mist stirred to the core of my body, oh god, why did I start at the end of a breath?
Should learn from that by now.
Yeah. But if we're going to talk about power in the context of a butt in the mist stirred to the core of my bodice by the Duchess Triceratops of Helena, then it's necessary to step outside of the text for a moment. You see, Dr. Chuck Tingle has power too. As fans of his work, we give him a modicum of power over our entertainment, and to his credit, Tingle puts this power to roundly wonderful uses. The Tingleverse itself revels in love and speaks meaningfully and entertainingly about the queer community and its joys and loves in all its many forms. On top of this, all the time, Tingle has used his work and fan base to support worthy causes. But to show you how this use of his position has played out around this particular Tingler, here's the copy from the book's release. After consulting with several ladybucks who kiss ladybucks, I have been requested to write historical romance. Please enjoy A Butt in the Mist stirred to the core of my bodice by the Duchess Triceratops of Helena. So, there's a couple of things to note here. First off, released on the 12th of August 2019, A Butt in the Mist stirred to the core of my bodice by the Duchess Triceratops of Helena is Tingle's third lesbian Tingler, with the preceding two being released the month before. There's no mention of consulting anyone in the copy of the previous two lesbian Tinglers, nor in the copy of those that followed in the months after. So it seems significant that it's mentioned here. In short, Tingle gave up some of his power to his readership and then gave them exactly what they asked for. The result of this? Well, his readership leveraged their collective spending power and the Tingler soared to #1 in lesbian erotica on the Kindle store the very next day. So, the Tingler itself pokes at the horrors and tragedies that come from relying on and abusing power. It suggests that love can come to those who operate above or outside of its strictures. Whereas the story behind the Tingler is one of the subtle baton passing of power between artist and audience. It's one where all involved seem to get what they want and come away happy. And I find that difference fascinating. But it's not what we're here for. No, the most salient piece of information is the fact that when given the choice, ladybucks who kiss ladybucks asked for historical romance.
Really?
That's it. That was it. Yeah, that's what the copy said, man.
Yeah.
I'm
shocked at that, to be fair. I would have thought they'd like it something more grounded in like modern day, but
do you know what? I thought that at first as well, but I think as I kind of you'll see. I'll explain it. Or at least I'll have a stab at explaining it.
Cool.
In the conclusion. In my research for this essay, it turned out to be quite difficult to get any firm details on the historical romance subgenre, despite there being fucking loads of it. But what I can tell you is that women make up 84% of romance novel readership. So it's probably fair to say that women make up a healthy majority of the historical romance readership too. This is a reasonably loose sort of claim, but one I feel is partly backed up by the fact that when Tingle listened to ladybucks, what they asked for is historical romance. On the surface of it, it doesn't seem to make an awful lot of sense. women's treatment throughout history is but in sorry
about that.
oh yeah but in reading A Butt in the Night, Stirred at the Core of My Bodice by the Duchess Triceratops of Helena, maybe we have some idea of the appeal now. The story of Miss Alison Davenport is one of a girl brought up in a world of repressive rules and strict hierarchy, and it sucks. It's only when she flips those structures the bird that things get good, and she can enjoy some quality quim quaffing time.
Good luck with that one.
Do you know what? I knew I was going to regret leaving that one in. Sorry to any women who might be watching. That is, or witching even. Good luck on the spells. It's only when she flips those structures the bird that things get good, and she can enjoy some quality time with a lady of sufficient power to do as she pleases, which in this case is Alison. And though I don't have a great foundation in historical romances, this theme of chasing one's desires with rampant disregard for the class system and its power is a recurring one. I've seen it in Titanic. I read it in Pride and Prejudice, and to a significantly lesser extent, I suppose you could argue that something of this ilk kind of happens in The Mask of Zorro. But I get the but overall, I get the appeal. You know, if you've grown up with constant rules and judgments being made on your behavior and appearance, if your full bodily autonomy is not guaranteed, if you have to live with the specter of men physically forcing their power upon your body, if you have to work so much harder for your share because you are a rung or rungs below others on a hierarchy many refuse to even acknowledge, then I get it. Stories about characters who fuck the system in order to pursue their actual desires, that makes sense. And setting it in history, no brainer. All that hierarchy shit is right at the top and easy to subvert. And everyone is just dressed, so much better.
Although I don't like, we'll get to it, but I don't like this steampunk hat. But anyway, carry on.
Well, no, I mean, that's it. We're at the end. I guess really that's our takeaway here. The appeal of this book, why it was asked for, you know, why historical romance is so widely enjoyed, what it means. And our takeaway here is essentially fuck the system, fight the power, pursue your desires, and prove love is real.
Bye. No, wait, sorry. I'm so used to when you say that, we say goodbye.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, yes, I thought you were going to go down like the pomp and the sort of classist nature of everything, but you make a very valid point that the reason why period pieces will be appealing for this kind of questioning of that is because it's so surface level.
And I mean, I should point out, like, I don't think that's like a complete analysis of their appeal. I think that's just, I think basically, given what Chuck has laid out in this book and the fact that it was asked for, you know, I definitely think that that's kind of one aspect of it. Yeah. I think the other thing with history is the escapist aspect. You know, it's in a world away.
Yeah,
which it's you know, it's sometimes it's just good to escape.
It might as well be the Shire. Like it's
Yes.
such an alien world today.
But I think, well, not the Shire, because I think that's the thing. That's the other thing. It's just real enough. It's far enough away that it's escapist, but it's just real enough. It's just human enough that it's just like, you can, you know, you can understand it. Yeah, you can get in, especially, you know, if you're not the sort who's into fantasy and sci-fi.
And especially if you come from sort of like a middle class, upper class background where you can see your parents acting a lot more snobbish than you do, or, you know, you can see the passage of time and its effect on morality. So going back even further kind of just amplifies that kind of feeling. Yeah, I mean, I had a look around for like someone who's done like a deep dive on this, but nothing turned up.
but I'm sure there's something out there. I'd be fascinated to read it.
Me too.
Oh, I think that's a lie, Tinkletron. I don't think you'd like to read a deep dive on the appeal of historical romance at all.
I have read every single one of Jane Austen's wet novels. All the ones that get me wet. All those tasty boys coming out of ponds. I know that happens in one of them. Darcy with a big dick in it.
And yes, Mr. Big Dog, yeah, Mr. Drippy,
Mr. Nasty Darcy, we call him, yeah.
Drippy Dangle Darcy. Gotta love it.
All right, enough of your bollocks. Right, greetings, horny human. I am Tingletron 4000, book review scorebook. All scores are final. Right, I'm off to see how this book ends. I bet Darcy sticks up her wrong'un.
Do you know, sometimes I find myself questioning the tone of Tinkletron.
I've yet to work out like what gender they identify as. Like I'm still kind of confused about that, or sexuality. Just seems to be up for anything, which I enjoy.
Yeah, even how they how they understand love. Even it'd be very interesting.
Didn't you just hear? He's read he they have read all of the Tinkletrons, all the Jane Austens. Jesus Christ, my brain's gone. Anyway, right. So yeah, this is the part where we've had the synopsis, we've had the science, and now we have some maths. So we're going to review the book based on the GameSpot back in the day score system. We're going to break it down into looking at the tingles, the cover art, getting to the pace, getting to the tingles, the pacing, giving you the tingles, the sexiness, saving you some tingle, recommendation value, and the final tingle tilt, reviewers tilt to give us the overall 10 out of 10 4 score. And here we go. So looking at the tingle cover art, right? I've already mentioned it. She's wearing a fucking steampunk hat. What the fuck is going on?
Whoa, hang on. Okay, first up, there's a lot of questions. Like before you dive into it, the first thing you've got to bear in mind, I didn't really have time to get into this in the analysis, right? The first thing you've got to bear in mind is that Billings and Helena, the capital of Montana, they were incorporated sometime in the mid to late 80s. So it was already a time when England no longer had rule over
80s.
1800s, yeah.
1800s. There we go. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. So in this, if they're still talking about America being a colony, like the timeline's completely different. They're not necessarily going to be wearing Victorian garb. It's all sorts of things could have changed, and I, for one, actually really like that steampunk get-up.
I find it interesting you've also done your research here, because the first thing I did was I saw Alison being addressed as Ms. Alison Davenport, and I was like, I swear that wasn't a term before like 1850 or something like that, and that to actually go into the history of the title Ms.
When did it become a thing? Because I thought it was in the 1950s.
The first recorded version of it is in 1790 or something like that, but it doesn't come into modern parlance until like early 1900s.
Oh, okay.
But it was a term that some people did use, so which is fair. But I was about to criticize it on that, but I don't know why I got into such a big thing. I spent 10 minutes researching titles.
But man, it's good. Two heads are better than one. We can. There's so much to always pick apart. So I mean, given that this isn't our timeline, Tom, given that things might be in fact, are very different from the way they went.
I like the idea that this very prim and proper house hospitalities aficionado comes to work wearing a leather bodice under her get up. I mean, Fair play to you. If you can get on with your daily task wearing a leather bodice, I wish I could.
Well, yeah. If we take the existence of Billings and Helena as a sort of dating tool, then it was during the Victorian era, and the Victorians were freaks, man.
This is true.
They were freaks.
I mean, Victoria herself, fucking hell.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Not to mention old Albie.
Filth Bucket Vic, they called her. But okay, so moving on to the other lady. So we have what I can only term as my kind of Photoshop, where you don't put any shadows or anything, you just cut out a fucking picture and stick it on the top.
Love it.
Of a Triceratops head stuck on. I mean, she's wearing a big sort of period piece dress, so she could have curves under that. I'm going to give it to you there. Misty backdrop. There's a lake, which we didn't hear about in the story, but could be.
Oh, I meant to ask my partner because she'd be able to date the costume of the Duchess.
Shit,
which would be a further clue. Damn.
The one time it's been beneficial that you go out with a seamstress. Costume design.
The one time?
I'm joking. But yeah, I mean, I like it. It's a bit plain. I'm probably going to give it just about average, I think. So sort of like a 3.125, like a little bit averagey.
I mean, I was thinking a little more than that. Because I mean, the other thing to remember, and this is where things are going to get tricky, and we're going to have to put some thought into the reviewers' tilt. But we are not the audience for this necessarily, Tom.
Or
at least we're not the primary audience.
I mean, yeah.
But I personally, I quite like this. I think it does the job very well. Maybe like a 3.9. What did you say?
I said 3.125.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, not that. 3.903.
Perfect.
I don't know why I asked you.
Neither do I. Right, so then we have, getting to the Tingle, it's the pacing. Now, this is where I think this book's major downfall is. I think that they spent a lot of time, or Tingle spent a lot of time building the world, making this great farcical scene, which I'm so glad is in there. But as I said during the synopsis, the sex scene is literally two girls finger each other is done. Like within minutes.
I mean, mayhaps that's all it needed to be. Young old Thomas, John Thomas, Tom.
maybe it's coming into this, and I'm thinking, okay, we haven't had much experience of Tingle in our own reading. Much experience of Tingle doing a lesbian sex scene. We've only had a couple.
We've had two. We've eaten right by the mysterious S that everyone used to draw in high school, and was it eaten right by the physical manifestation of washing?
Oh no, physical manifestation of washing my hands gets me off. Cool. Yes. So I think both those sex scenes in those books are sexier and feel less rushed. I think this is the problem. It just feels very, very rushed.
But I think it's all about the build up with this one. It's all about the journey. It's all about getting there. It's all about the crushing weight of rules, and then the moment of rebellion, and then release.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want a fucking pornographic. Well, obviously I do, but I'm reading fucking erotic by Tingle. But I don't want this heavy hardcore fisting thing going on or something. I just would like a little bit more than literally two actions.
I mean, I have to include. I think the sex really starts
with the chasey.
I do. to a certain degree. I think it kind of starts when when Sarah asks Alison to meet her in the garden. I think that's your instigating moment of foreplay. That's the tension starts building from there, and only kind of increases once she sees once Alison sees Sarah swinging her hips in the mist.
Okay.
The actual boning down itself, not the hottest thing I've ever read, but it's certainly specifically in the garden where she sees the flash of Sarah and then Sarah runs away. It's like, oh hell yeah,
Cute little green bum running away. Yeah.
yeah.
Right, so what are you going to give it?
I mean, I'm happy to give this one a 3.777 lucky sevens.
Oh, I almost put in too many sevens then. That was always going to throw off everything.
Oof. It's so precise, Tom. We can't.
I really love the farce in the dining hall. But
oh, hang on, wait. What? Sorry, were we doing hotness or getting to the?
This is pacing.
Oh, this is pacing.
Yeah. I think this is too front heavy. Like half of everything before the farce is about twice as long as it needs to be, but the farce itself is perfectly paced, and then the sex scene is really rushed. This is how I feel. So I'm going to go for like a 2. Oh shit! I just pressed enter by accident.
Actually, yeah, sorry. So you could just move my score over to sex to giving you the tingle, because for some reason I thought we were talking about giving you the tingle.
I mean, this is throwing so many spanners into the works. Like the algorithm's not going to be able to cope with this.
You're right. The first act of that book is pretty loaded and kind of just Alison sat in a carriage, which
nice set piece, but
could have easily given just a little bit more time to just the farcical aspect. But that said, it's good. It does its job. 3 points to
spooky.
8-1.
I'm going to be a little bit harsher. I'm going to go for a 2.791.
Ooh, okay. So only just above average then.
Yeah, like I thoroughly enjoyed it, so I'm not going to take away too many points, but I just think, it was just a little bit too front-loaded. Right, so now's the sexiness, isn't it? So yeah, this is giving you the tingle, the sexiness. So you said
3.777.
You already said, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I've said previously in this show, I like the titillation and the sort of like the lead up to any action already happening.
Yes.
I quite enjoyed the build up the ramp. I mean, this was ba-da-ba, green bum in the mist. And then it was not sexy at all. So I'm going to go really low. I'm going to go like...
Oh.
Is it sub 2? It's probably 2 on the dot. I'll give it 2 on the dot. I was going to be mean and go in sub 2. Oh, sorry, I've not been actually saying what these all got out of 5, did I? But never mind. It doesn't really matter. We're making up as we go along. Sorry.
How dare you, Tom?
I mean, the maths will come out in the end, in the wash. The cover art is 3.514 out of 5. The pacing is 3.036 out of 5. And the sexiness giving you the tingle is 2.8885 out of 5. Right, so now we're on recommendation value. Would I recommend it? I mean, based on everything I've said so far, I'm going to say probably not.
There was it's not the easiest one to recommend, this one.
No, I mean, if you think about when we've previously said what we recommend, it's something that showcases Tingle in all facets that make him unique, or it's a laugh, and it's something that we think has comedic value or satirical value, and then maybe pushing it the sexiness sometimes, but probably not. This is very low on all those things.
If I knew someone was into very much into historical romances, and they were also like actually quite interested in trying out Chuck Tingle, I would recommend this.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
That is about as milquetoast an answer as you could possibly give, which I think must put it squarely slap bang in the middle of ratings.
Yeah, I think that's a good caveat, actually. That is a very good point. If you knew someone who was into their Bodice Rippers or their Jane Austen or something period PC, you're right.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, I think 2.668. I think for me.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be around there. I think I'll be a little bit lower, but not much. So 2.3 out of 5. Divide by 2. So that is 2.5005 out of 5. Right, final score. It's the reviewer's tilt. It's the Tingle tilt. I think this is probably where it's going to score quite well for me.
Yeah, because I feel like for those who are into this, they're gonna love this, and you know, it obviously did very well. I do have to, and like this perhaps isn't our forte, shall we say? So that would lead me to skew high, because I think it needs, you know, it's worth more than what it's currently getting. I did, however, know, I think there was a review. I can't remember if it was on Amazon or on Goodreads, but someone reviewed it. A lady reviewed it, say, yeah, no, it's very good, very funny. I really enjoyed myself with this book, but I enjoyed the one that came with it even more.
Oh, I'm so excited for the one that came with it.
Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But I think I think like a 4.31. Sorry, I'm just calculating.
Sounds like you're dying. I can't see your face. I was worried you were having a heart attack or something.
Numbers and graphs kind of flying by. 1.
Perfect. I think that might be a little bit generous. I think this book I enjoyed of it on its own merits. Like, it's almost better than the sum of its parts almost. But just as an I thoroughly enjoyed myself while I was reading it. So I think I've been harsh scoring it based on our criteria. But I'm not willing to go above 3 point. Look, I'll push it to the absolute max limit. I do have a range in my matrices tables that I've got in front of me, so I will push it to the upper limit of that subset. So 3.125.
3.125.
Yeah, I mean that's
wow.
Not bad, because every positive score you put in this section is going to boost the score a bit. And so that is
okay.
3.718 out of 5. So that gives us the final 4 score of 6.2628 out of 10. Which, if I quickly do my sort by custom foiled 4 score values, largest to smallest, then
quickly poke through your matrices, upper manifolds, and
I mean it's third from the bottom. It's in between. Ooh. It's in between our previous book, Turned Gay by the Living Alpha Diner, which is above it by merely 0.1 something, and then below it, Vampire Night Bus Pounds Me in the Butt, which is 5.6. So it's way better than Vampire Night Bus, but
I still can't believe Vampire Night Bus is so far down there.
And Slam by My Substantial Amount of Press is our lowest scoring book, but the math doesn't lie.
The math doesn't lie. What can we say?
Math can't lie. It's the
It
foundations
can't.
of our
It
universe.
can't. It just you do numbers, and the numbers are like, true, and we've got to be like, well, okay.
I mean, Tingle is using artistic slant to try and prove that love is real. I bet you Tingletron could come up with a fucking formula for it. Proof.
Yeah, maybe, but he shouldn't though.
No, he probably shouldn't.
He shouldn't do that.
I've heard some bad things about that guy, girl, they, whatever it is.
Person.
No, let's not go that far.
Bot.
Also, sorry, I've just realised I haven't pointed out my background. So that is obviously the Triceratops from Jurassic Park. But when reading this book, this was all I could think about was this photo. Because I remember seeing photos of all the crew with this Triceratops, including like Steven Spielberg. And yeah, it's just this guy just snuggling down with it. I just loved. Anyway.
It's very cute.
Right. So we've kind of revealed it already, but the book that came with it, guys.
Ooh,
Our next read.
Indeed. Our next read is not pounded by my book, not pounded by anything, and that's okay. Sorry, not pounded in the butt by my book, not pounded in the butt by anything, and that's okay. Which is
prime Tingle title. Prime Tingle title.
As it might suggest, the follow-up to Not Pounded in the Butt by Anything, and That's Okay, which we have covered.
Yeah, if you haven't read it already, guys, go back and read, because it is a good one.
And I believe it's top of our list, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. Let me just double check. Sorry, Tingletron, move over. Yeah, top of the stack, 8.8 out of 10. If this beats it, cool. I will be happy. I'll be a happy Larry.
Yes, yeah. I'm interested. I haven't read it yet. I've been delaying that particular gratification, but I'm interested to see where it goes. What it is.
Talk about being turned on by the build up. I've been nursing blue balls for a week on this book. I read the this current book, But in the Mist, literally half an hour after we finished our last recording, because I was so excited to read it. And then when I saw the title of the next book, everything I could do in my power to stop myself reading it.
Yeah, it should be a fun one.
Yeah. Anyway, if you would like to follow us, go read that. And you can find us at pottopicpodcast.com, where you'll find our podcast as well. And if you aren't watching this on YouTube, come over, because there's probably some shit gags that you're not getting.
Oh, hell yeah.
And also, emails at pottopicpodcast.com. If you are reading along, either send an email there or talk off in the comments below on YouTube. Oh, God, I felt like a millennial then. Sound off in the comments. Share, like, subscribe, guys. Tingle fam, hashtag Tingle fam.
Yeah, fucking, even if it's just shit posting, just.
Oh, yeah. just please,
whatever.
We're shouting into the void. It would be nice if the void could shout back every now and again.
Oh, it's never going to happen.
No.
Cool. Well, I guess then that all that's left to happen is for me to say thank you for joining us on this journey, and that whatever your way, whatever your trot, go forth into the timeline and prove love is real.
Love is real. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Green butt.